Alright, I'm trying this feature on YouTube where I can schedule it and then stream live, so I just want to kind of make sure that that's working. We'll fire this game up and we'll get it going. First off, let's turn the game on. It comes up in this weird kind of limbo state when the MPU has already been booted. So it'll kind of sit like this until I re-upload the software. But I can't remember if I updated the sound. I think I did. Okay. So there's a microcontroller in there and an attached wave driver board that I've just got a little SD card on it, and that's where I put the sound on. All right. I'll show a little bit about the technology here. Put this right here. These are some of the boards. This is an early prototype one that was hand wired. This is one of the ones you can get from a couple of different people that are making the boards. And this is the sound card. I've also laser cut some neat little plaques for the games like that. Pretty cool. And the kit boards basically just come like this, and there's just a handful of components on them. All right, I'm gonna put it here. Welcome. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe. All right. All right. I see we got people watching on YouTube, so hopefully everything is working as it's supposed to. I'm just going to keep my little chat window open there, and if anybody has any questions. So this is kind of all the little components here for the thing. This is my little. I'm going to put this right here. It's going to look pretty cool. Little thing right above the. You can't see it because but it's off camera. But a little wooden plaque. See if I can put it over here on this screen. Probably bad lighting, huh? I got a lower frame rate on the right camera so that it can catch the scores, because the scores flicker if I do it at a higher frame rate. That's why this is jaggy on the right. I've just reduced the frame rate. All right, give me one moment and we will get started. So I'm actually really looking forward to just getting back to playing on this game. It's a really fun game to play. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to boot up the Arduino, or cause it to reboot the game. So let me go into my GitHub repository, make sure I've got the latest version, and then pull up the Arduino IDE, and then recompile and send it to the thing. So it's compiling on the laptop right there, and then the game will boot up in a second and the speakers will come on. I've got 93% of the code, the space filled.
Who approaches the Paragon?
And there we have it. The game is rebooted after the code has been downloaded. So I'll tell you what, let's take a look inside of the game, shall we? And I'll show you what is involved. Let me put the light on here. A little bit more light in the room, and we'll actually open up the back. I'll show you. Now my setup here, this is the first project that I did another one that was Trident, and this was the first custom thing that I wrote. And let's open it up and you can see. So right there, maybe I can point it up a little more. Let's see. Oops. I'm going to throw everything off. So right here is the Arduino Nano on a little daughter board, and it plugs into the J5 connector on the back. This is a basic Bally MPU board. These are all basic standard boards. This is an aftermarket all-tech light board that's designed to work with LEDs because I put LEDs in it. Honestly, I don't really know if it makes that much difference using this board than a regular board if you get the good quality LEDs. And then I've got the wave trigger right here. Right now it's just cable tied onto the wires. I'm going to eventually make a nice little mounting spot for it. It'll probably be up here. And then I've got a 3.5 millimeter jack coming out of here that plugs right into the some computer speakers up top. And I'll eventually get some better quality speakers, maybe even add a subwoofer. And but it's all basically stock. There's a little jumper on this board up here. I can pull that jumper and it'll boot to the original code and play the original code. And maybe I should do that first, huh? Yeah, do you want me to play the original code first? So in order to do that, let's turn the game off. All right, and let me unplug the computer. Okay. Now everything is powered down in the back of the cabinet. So let's pull this jumper off. Okay. And on this board down here, I actually have a switch that I can flip. On the production boards, it's just a little jumper that you pull. Okay. All right, we got everything basically set up. So I'll move my little display board there, and we're going to fire this thing up, and it's going to boot up into the original game. Now, it takes a little bit longer for the original game to come up. So there's your classic Bally Paragon sound. You know, you've got just the bleeps and the bloops. So, you know, not really, just blinks and burps and that's basically what you get, you know. I mean, there's really just a handful of sounds. Every pop bumper sounds the same. The slingshots sound the same. All the targets sound the same. You have probably the neatest sound feature in the original game is the Golden Cliffs, where every time you hit it, it's like a name that tune kind of thing. It plays a little bit longer amount of the tune. Watch. So that's your reward there. That's the fanciest music you get in the game. And so there you have it. You can see the Paragons, the way the Paragon sweeps and everything else does it, and this thing moves. And I've got some colored LEDs. That's normally would be white and not kind of bluish. And so that's the game. It's a fun game. It's not super deep, obviously. The layout is challenging, though. That's 20,000 points for each thing. But it's a good, fun layout, and a very not a super challenging rule set. But you know. Okay, so here's a good, this is a good contrast between the game as it was. Just bleep, bleep. That's what you get. All right. So let's turn it off. Let's boot to the reprogram game. That's kind of a neat attract mode. That might, in some ways, that might be a little bit better than mine. The way it kind of waves like that. I could program that in there though. I'm just saving space, and I didn't want to waste a lot of space on attract modes. But let's see what we got. So shut it back down. And open this up, and I'm going to put that jumper back on. There we go. I think I put it back on. I hope I put it back on right. Okay. So that was the stock machine, and if I pull that jumper out, you really wouldn't know. You wouldn't know any different. So let's now boot to the new machine. Oh, it didn't. It booted to the old one. I must have got that jumper. The jumper's not right. Okay. I had a weird feeling I was going to do that. Let me grab my flashlight. It's a little tiny jumper, and I might have just gotten it over one pin and not both of them. Yeah. Okay, there we go. I pulled it out and put it right back on. I had it only over one pin. All right. Now we're talking.
Who approaches the Paragon?
So right off the bat, you got some kind of cool voices happening. Well, my voice, I don't know how cool it is. We'll see.
Who approaches the Paragon?
Okay. And all right, so let me just push this back up here so you get a little, makes it a little. Let's rock and roll. Let's put a few coins in. Here's our coin noise. Like that. That's actually a box of quarters being slid across a tile floor. I'm just, trying to come up with weird sounds and stuff. So, the one thing you'll notice right away is the attract mode is different. Slightly different. I have a different sequence of lighting effects that I put in here. Nothing really special or anything. Just a couple of different little things alternates, and my thing does this. Whereas the original one goes doot, doot, doot. Mine goes like this, and then there's a bonus countdown. There's a few other little lights. This Paragon will blink at a random rate, and it changes every few seconds. It's just kind of a neat thing there. So it's not always the same. And then there's an alternation of every other light, that kind of stuff. All right, so, and then you'll see there's a couple of lights that have got loose sockets. These two lights, I need to take them off and clean them, and then the 3000 light, as somebody astutely pointed out, is that bonus light's not working either. It is working sometimes, it's a loose connection. So, let's start up a game. There's sound, there's music. It now plays. The base rule set is exactly the same, but there's some added features. I've got a ball save, I've got a skill shot, I've got some special hidden scoring features, and there's a special mode that stacks on top of the regular game called Hunt the Beast. And you qualify this mode by knocking down the 3 drop targets here, and then it lights this center stand up, and if you hit that, beast mode begins, and there's a lit shot that moves around the playfield. And if you hit it, it scores a certain amount of points. That jackpot amount varies depending upon what else is going on. Every time certain targets are hit, it goes up. It goes up like 100 every time these pop-uppers are hit, 500 every time this is hit, 10 every time the slingshots are hit. And then subsequent beast modes get larger and larger. You can also stack a beast mode on top of another. So if you qualify it and you haven't started it, you can knock these drop targets down and add like another 25,000 onto the jackpot. So there's some strategy there and some things you can do. And let's see. So you'll notice the high score is 320,621. Why is there a 1 there instead of a 0? I just thought, nobody ever uses that ones digit. It's always a 0 on every pinball machine. I said I'm gonna increment that every time somebody subdues the beast. So every time somebody gets a beast mode. So if you end up on the high scoreboard, you'll also be able to tell how many beasts somebody subdued by the ones digit. Theoretically, they could wrap it, but I've designed that beast mode so that it gets harder and harder and harder. Although I think there may be some high-level tricks to cash it in on the harder levels. I'm curious if anybody would identify what those are. I think if you really understand the game and the dynamics, you might get a clue. But let's just jump into it. If you got any questions, drop them in the chat room. And hello, everybody. And all right, so let's start the game. So this game has music, unlike other pinball machines. This is music that I have gotten the license from, and so I don't think YouTube is going to copyright strike me or anything like that. Hopefully not. And it's a local band called Russell Batiste and Friends, and he's a very well-known drummer. He's played with the Funky Meters and a bunch of other bands. It's a really good kind of prog rock, funky prog rock band. And they're friends of mine. The actual music you're going to hear, I actually recorded it in concert, and you can watch that on my other YouTube channel at Pin Church. That's our studio that we have live music at. I didn't know how appropriate it would be. Some people think it's not an appropriate music given the theme, but if you look at the original theme, the music, the sound effects in the original theme wasn't particularly, appropriate either. But I just wanted to. This is my first original thing, and I wanted to also include everybody that's been helpful and supportive of my efforts. So I've designed this game so there's all kinds of audio callouts and all kinds of things going on. For every sound, like if you listen to the bass gameplay, every pop bumper, the sound is exactly the same every time you hit the pop bumper. On this game, every time you hit a pop bumper, the sound could be different. It pulls every sound effect based on a switch or a game progress. Can be one single sound effect that just repeats all the time, or it could be one from a pool of sound effects that are picked randomly. So the way this game works is I've got a whole bunch of different call outs and different things. Like up here at the top, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, that just played a tune in the original one. Now it says what the award is: 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. And I got a whole bunch of different people to record saying 2,000, 4,000, 6,000 in different kind of voices and inflections. So you never know what you're going to get up there, because there's probably 50 or 60 different sound clips that could rotate depending upon what you hit and how many clips I have for that particular call out, And the neat thing about this technology is there's plenty of space for sound, so I could add tons and tons more. Anybody who wants to be in a pinball machine can be in a pinball machine. So let's just start it, play a game. It's going to be a little bit louder because of the glass being off, but hopefully you get the vibe.
Champion enters the arena.
Okay, so there's a skill shot here. This is Blinking Sue's skill shot. It's the two blinking saucers.
N.
Missed it. Here we go. So a lot of different sounds in there, as you can tell. Old school, new school. Anyway, nice little funky kind of groove, you know.
4,000.
O.
6,000.
So I have beast mode qualified now, so you see the G is blinking. If I hit this, it'll start the beast mode. So let's give it a try.
You miss. You missed.
Hit that G! Alright, I got it. So I got the beast mode, of course immediately drained after, because that's kind of a dangerous shot. But you can see some of the sounds don't layer perfectly. I'm trying to figure that out. So pinball managers, you have to program all the game settings with the dip switches. I can read the dip switches from the BIOS, but we are storing the settings in the BIOS. I don't know if it is on the Arduino or it's on the actual motherboard BIOS, but the system does have the capability of reading all those switches. And then I don't know if our system is using the dip switch settings or not, because you can go into the program code and set all that stuff too with definitions, like how many balls per game and all that. Obviously, I don't know if anybody's actually tried to operate one of these games yet, these specially modded games. Probably a bit more attention needs to be made to see how robust they would be in an operated environment. But I plan to make this game really rock solid. This is the reason why I'm doing a lot of testing and tweaking before just dumping the code out there. So.
8,000.
Denied that drop target.
10,000.
Nope. I missed it. Oh no! So we got a match feature. It matched. Now obviously when it matches, it matched 60, it matches 61, it ignores the ones, but it's still, the match feature still works. I know what I wanted to test. Last update I put some tilt code in here, and I'm curious to see how that's working. So let's start a game real quick, and I'm just going to try to tilt it out. I want to see if the tilt's working. And this can have tilt warnings, so it's 2 tilt warnings and then the third it tilts.
Welcome to the arena.
All right, so before I start, I'm going to try to tilt it. I'm going to reach into the cabinet and see what happens. Okay, that was tilt warning number 1. There's a 1 second debounce time. So let me try this again. Tilt warning 2. There it is. And let's see if this should tilt it out. It does. And what's happened is the flippers and everything have died. Will the kick out holes work? I haven't tested this. Look at that. So there's a good example of of some problems in the code, right? When it tilts, it probably should stop the music too. It didn't stop the music. And my code is not checking in a tilt condition if a ball ends up in the saucers, which need to be kicked out. So that's a problem, obviously. Can you imagine if the glass was on and you tilt, the game's stuck, you have to pull the glass off. So presumably...
You live another day.
Okay. It did register that pet peeve from the Paragon. So this is an example of of how there can be some glitches with the game logic. So I'm going to have to fiddle with that. So obviously tilting is going to be a problem. And I think when you tilt, maybe I should do something, some light effect or something like that. But yeah, there's lots of bugs to be found in here, So
Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stand up to hunt the beast. Yes, shot to subdue the beast.
So it's here. So in the beast mode, it goes around randomly. I could make it follow a pattern, but if you hit this,
Stop the beast.
it stops it and keeps it there for a little bit longer. And then if you hit it, so yeah, there was about 3 or 4 sound effects that were, yeah, there's no ball search. There's no ball search programmed into this, and that's something else to consider, Do we do a ball search?
Ball saved.
Yeah, so there's was there a ball save after the tilt? That could be another thing I need to make. I just programmed the tilt in literally.
That's not bad. You're ready to challenge my niece.
So what you're also seeing is some of the call-outs in the game. Depending upon your score at the end of the game, it'll pull from one of 5 different pools of call-outs. There's level 1 to level 5. Level 1 being I think if you score less than 40 or 50,000, it'll give you one set of things, and then if it's between that and 100,000, it's another. If it's over 100,000, it's tier 3, and so you can literally just insult or taunt the player based on their performance. I also want to have some call-outs if I sense certain things happening in the game, like if the ball drains really quickly right after the ball save comes out, I can probably have some call out like worst ball ever, like in Simpsons or something like that. I want to try to have some little code things like that where, again, the gameplay. This is a game I really don't want to mess with the gameplay too much, but I do think being able to be more creative with the sound would kind of be fun. So yeah, was there a ball save after the tilt? There may have been, because, well, there should be a ball save after the tilt because you lose your ball and that's the next ball, I assume. But yeah, so I'm going to have to, and this is much trickier than you can imagine. It's not as simple as if it tilts, make sure there's no balls in the holes, because when you look at the program code, it's all this recursive stuff. Everything is calling itself and looping around. Well, it's not calling itself. It's just everything is in a big loop, and things are being executed over and over and over. So things are nested. There's a mode that checks for the switches that's nested inside of a larger loop that checks for other level things, and then that's inside of another loop. And there's all these different things that have to kind of continually happen in order to make the Arduino function properly. You can't, you have to check on the status of the coils regularly. So I can't just write a routine that's like tilts, wait 2 seconds, kick all the things, play something and then continue. You can't do that in a game like this, because if there was a coil locked on at that moment and you took exclusive control of the machine, the coil would stay locked on. Everything is kind of done simultaneously. And so this is the thing, when you think of computer programming, you usually think of, 10, hello world, 20, input, what is your name, 30, go to, whatever. And it's a sequential thing, but with a machine like this, you got a whole bunch of things going on at the same time. And so there's this big loop where the code is checking the light situation, checking and updating those displays are not like, you don't write to it and it just stays that way. You have to continually poll the displays and tell it to do this and update it. These lights, they're constantly being told to be on or off. Same thing with the coils. When you fire a coil, you give it a certain amount of time that you want to hold that coil in. So like a drop target reset coil may be held a little bit longer than, say, a pop bumper coil. Might just need to fire for 50 milliseconds, whereas this might need to fire for 100 milliseconds. And the way that works is the code signals the driver board to short the coil circuit to ground so that it fires, right? And it's like a push button, as long as it's being held down, it's fired, but you have to let off of it. And so the game is constantly telling all the electronics, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, everywhere. So if it freezes, whatever state the machine is in, it's quite possible to stay in that state. And when you've got all these electromagnets and stuff on the game, play field, and that's one of the reasons why, and this is with almost all pinball machines, if the early Gottlieb games, the System 80 games, they had what's called a watchdog circuit to sense if the CPU froze up, because if there was some kind of bug or a glitch with the power, sometimes the main processing unit would just freeze. And if it freezes while a coil's firing, that coil will stay locked on and it'll catch fire and burn, So that's why when you're programming in this, everything has to continually loop. You can't just stop and take care of one thing before something else. And the loop does happen fast enough for the spinner. There was some discussion as to whether or not an Arduino could keep up with the amount of speed necessary, because what's happening here is on these pinball machines, you don't have each individual switch is not set 2 wires going to the MPU. There's a matrix, and the switches are wired in rows and columns, and the MPU constantly checks a row and then checks each column to see if there's a close on either one of those. And that's how it senses everything. So it's got to constantly pulse this switch matrix at a fast enough period of time so that when you hit something, it's there. Ironically, the original MPU board for these games wasn't always fast enough to catch every switch hit. That's why on these Bally and Stern games, they'll put little capacitors on the underside behind the switches to simulate the switch closing just a few more milliseconds so that the MPU can catch up with it. And I would say the Arduino, this Arduino Nano, is probably comparable, maybe a little bit faster than the original processors, but it's not so fast that if you pull the capacitor off of one of these switches, it'll catch it all the time. It still needs that help too. But there are faster Arduinos out there, and we're hoping to start using some that have more program space. So let's keep playing.
Champion enters the arena.
So yes, a spinner. So every spin lights one of these things, and then when 5 are lit, it gives you a bonus and starts back over. So that 3 light is out. So there's our 4.
Oh,
that sound clip is messed up. I don't know. I gotta fix that sound clip. It shouldn't end like that.
Stand up to hunt the beast.
4,000.
6,000.
Yeah, this sound clip doesn't end right. I gotta fix that. No!
Welcome to the Paragon.
So how does the looping code manage if you trap up a ball or something? No, it's still looping. It's constantly looping no matter what's going on. Because like every loop of all the Paragon switches, that's the thing counting like every 500 milliseconds it changes. You know, I do want to I want to do a video where I actually put the computer screen up and I go through the code and show you what the code looks like, because it's pretty fascinating.
2,000. 4,000.
Oh no! So let me show you how I can mess with the code. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to modify the code right now to disable the background music. Okay, so let me pull up the code. Go into So what I've just done is I went into the... I got an error? Hit a button. So let me... I left it in the middle of a game. That's why the music's still playing. But this is a good example of what I'm talking about with the MPU, right?
Who approaches the Paragon?
So that music just kept playing and playing and playing, and the reason why it kept playing over and over is because I didn't tell it to stop. Because I gave a command to the system to do something, and then I didn't give it a command to stop doing it, and the way this particular system goes is it'll keep looping it until I tell it to stop. So if something happens, if there's a glitch, if the program freezes, if you've got a bug in your code, if you've got a variable that, say, is a byte, which is only supposed to hold a value of, between 0 and 255, and you increment it or add something to it that goes beyond that, it can create a weird condition where strange things happen and the code can just go off to Never Never Land and freeze, and whatever commands were sent to the hardware, that's what they've got. So it'll just keep doing it, whether it's holding on a coil, playing music, that kind of stuff. So what I did was I modified the header file for the code, and I told it that I don't have any background music. So I should be able to start a game now.
Approach the Paragon and prove your worth.
And we don't have any, now we don't have any background music. So again, little changes like that so now we can just listen to the sound effects.
G.
You'll notice there's a pretty long delay when the ball falls in the hole. I originally set it like that. Obviously, it's too long.
A.
But again, I can completely set how long it takes before it kicks that ball out. Presumably, I was going to have some other sound effect play or something like that. So there's lots of these little things you got to kind of take into account. So let's go over some of the sounds.
Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stand up to hunt the beast.
So then you do that.
The hunt begins. Hit the flashing shot to subdue the beast.
Hard to hear that when there's all that background music, huh? The sound when it changes it is not going to be there. It should be a better sound than that, And maybe it needs to change slower. This, I think, is every 5 seconds. So if you hit it, it stuns the beast. So now it stays a little bit longer. And it'll do, and then
Time is running out.
when you get to like 10 seconds left, time will run out. And it'll say something when time runs out.
You're no beast, master.
And again, all of those call outs are from a pool, so it could be "you suck" or "well, better luck next time," whatever. It's all different kinds of things in there. So you'll hear the sound effects. They unlike the original game, it's CD quality sound, but it also varies. It's different each time. That's a big metal bar that I hit with a sledgehammer. This is like a flapping wing. The drop targets are liquor bottles that I hit with a mallet, and I put some nice reverb on them.
Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stand up to hunt the beast.
This is a waterfall and this is actually an actual waterfall I recorded. So that's, and then this is boxes of quarters. And then 2X and 3X are call-outs. Let's see.
Double bonus.
3x.
So somebody's asking, do you have a different sound if the Paragon letter has already been activated, like Scared Stiff Spiders? I do not. And I thought about that. Yeah, so if you just see, if you just hit
P.
And if I hit P again, it'll just say P again. I could have a different sound if I wanted to. I'd have to just program that. And so what would be involved in something like that? So every time you land,
A.
it lights the letter. I obviously keep track of which Paragon letters are lit. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do that programmatically, right? But when you're dealing with a tiny microcontroller, you want to use as little space as possible. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have seven possible states that are on or off. So theoretically, we could save this state in a byte. We could use 7 bits, and that would work perfectly fine. Or we could have a number from 1 to 7, or 0 to 6, because when you're dealing on the computers in low-level languages, everything starts with 0. So 0 might be P, 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically, but in this case, any combination of these letters can be lit. So the best way to store what the status of Paragon is to use what's called a bit mask, right? If you're familiar with binary, everything is 1s and 0s, and you can store 8 different bits, and each bit can be on or off, 1 or 0. And so that can be represented in decimal form from 0 to 255. In base 2, it's a string of 1s and 0s. So this is 1, 1, 0, 0. I don't know what the G is because we can't tell if it's lit or not.
The hunt begins. Hit the flashing shot to subdue the beast.
Let's start.
Got him.
Okay, so the G was on. So this is 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. that could be represented in binary as a particular number, and I know that, say, this is bit 1, which is this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it would also, but in binary it would be 1s, 2s, 4, 6, 8, 16, 32. So if the R gets hit, I know that R is 4, so I would OR 4 with the value of the Paragon variable, and it would turn this bit on. I would turn on bit 4. So it's you kind of, you have to be a little bit familiar with binary arithmetic. It is kind of a basic thing in computer science class. It's not super difficult to learn, but it may be a little bit difficult to grasp at first. But it's a way you could, I mean, in a low-level language, you just have a variable P, P-A-R-A or P-A-R-A-2, G, and you'd say, is P on? Yes. Is A on? But when you're dealing with these microcontrollers, you need a lot more efficiency with stuff. So if I wanted to keep track of, different sounds, yes, I just have to add more variables, really. Now, modern computers that are running Python and these high-level libraries, you can have much more human-friendly coding and all this object-oriented stuff where you can make a few definitions and all the grunt work is done, which is not something that's easy to do on this primitive technology. So, play on, see what we get.
P.
Yeah, I know my monster sound maybe needs to be fixed a little bit more. Sounds like Bigfoot strangling a chicken.
P.
Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stage. Yes! To subdue the beast.
So during beast mode, this target and this target are potential targets, but I realized that if the targets were down, it wouldn't work. So I figured I'm going to drop the targets up, and then they only are active. See, if you hit them,
You missed.
it pops back up. So I have to change the behavior of some of the playfield features to accommodate certain things with the modes and stuff. Now, like when it's over here,
Time is running out.
so if I hit that, it'll trigger it.
You missed.
That won't get it. So any one of these targets will do it.
Oh my God.
So it fires the knocker too, just because it's kind of one of the main game features. It doesn't give you an extra special though, or credit, but I just thought it would be neat to add that. And so the skill shot you see is this: the 20 and the special is lit. And if you can get the ball in there when those things are blinking, you'll get 20,000 points. Well, actually 20,000 plus the normal award. And here you will get a special. It's a lot harder than you think because you can't hit any of the other switches up here. See, there's a couple switches. If you hit any of those switches, it immediately turns off the skill shot. So you have to kind of plunge up here and maybe just have it go right into here or bounce right over here or over here and don't hit the switch and then come down. It's possible to do it. It's just it's tricky. But I think it's a cool skill shot.
G.
See, that's doable, but whether you can time it with that thing, I don't know,
Someone's been practicing. Okay.
So there's one of the call-outs, and that's one if you did relatively well, because it's over 200,000, you'll get that. You think if you cross 300,000, there's a whole nother level of things that they'll say, and that's ongoing. I mean, I've got probably 50 or 60 sound clips, and every time somebody comes over, I'll be like, "Hey, you want to record something for the pinball machine?" And that's now. People are asking, is the code going to be available to do for other people. And that is my intention to release this, although I am recognizing that I'm being a bit self-indulgent with the sound and all the clips of my friends and stuff, and I don't know if everybody necessarily wants that. So what I might do is come up with a more generic version where there's just a more basic clips that are consistent with the theme, and I can show people if you want to customize the sound, because there's a couple of different approaches to people getting a hold of this technology and having fun with it. You could obviously just find somebody to build you the board and download the code and just give it to you, and you can plug it in your machine, and then you've got an alternate game. You could also, at the other end of the spectrum, build your own board, program your own game from the ground up, or you could take an existing game and kind of do your own thing with it. I think there's going to be, there'll be all these different levels of ways people will mod things. It's still early on. One of the things I'm concerned about is if people start messing with the program code and all these different versions of the program code are floating around, some of them can be destructive. So I think hopefully we haven't run into a situation where somebody's distributed, some code that blows somebody's boards or something. So I'm going to be extra careful about when I release the code to make sure that it's really stable and do a lot of testing. But I do think one of the things I will encourage and try to show people how to do is how to change the sounds on it, right? Take something like this where it's just a base game and it's got some extra features, but the ability to put your own sounds into it would be a fun thing. And I think I could show people how to do that fairly easily. It's as simple as plugging a USB, SD card into your computer and copying files and using a certain file naming convention. And as long as you have a little guide that says, okay, in this case, the background music on this game all starts at address 170, right? So you just start a file with 170 dash, and then that becomes one of the tracks that it will play. So all the code has to know is that the background music starts at 170, and here's how many different background tracks there are. Like I might have 10 or 11 different tracks. So there's a certain line in the code which says, background music starts at 170, the number of tracks is 10. And so if you wanted to change the background music, you just upload your own wave files, put those numbers in front of them, and then make sure that the number matches the number that you have on the SD card. And then you just insert it. Here's an example of the wave trigger right here. So there's a little SD card slot there, and you just push that thing in, and so what I'll do, I have two micro SD cards, and I'll have one in the game, and I'll put one in my computer, and I'll be working on the sounds, and then I'll swap them out as I'm updating the thing. And hello, welcome to the stream, and hope things are going well in France. I wish I was over there. That'd be nice. I am in New Orleans, Louisiana, quite a ways away. So for those of you just joining us, I'm demoing the software with the microcontroller. I've turned the background music off, so I'm just kind of showing off the
Welcome to the Paragon!
The call-outs and stuff like that. So the beast's got different sounds. And I added a little kind of old school stuff. The inlane is actually a chime. That's 1,000 points it scores, so the outlane will play that, but it also has a couple of other tracks.
Ooh, that right outlane's a killer!
So it can say that, or it can just do that. So there's 3 different sounds.
Ooh, that right outlane's a killer!
I think I might only have 3 different sounds for that one. So it's random.
Ooh, that right outlane's a killer!
So you never really know which one you're going to get. Now I could change it. I could make it loop through every possible sound, but I just thought it'd be fun to make it random. So that's kind of the algorithm that I brought to the code. Was instead of just having one sound for each thing, I would have a pool of sounds and it would randomly pick one. Now, some targets do have specific sounds. These drop targets, there's a different pitch for each one.
Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stand up to hunt the beast. Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stand up to hunt the beast.
So now there's like 2 beast modes, so the jackpot will be even higher if I enable that. Supersonic. You know, I have a Supersonic too, and I think Dick Hamill is also working on Supersonic too. So there's a couple of us that have Supersonic, and that's a game that the rule set is just kind of lackluster, but that Concorde jet on the cover of it is really, really nice. You know, so I'm looking forward to, you know, that's a game where I think, you know, you could just go nuts with it. Paragon, I almost felt like when I was going to redo this one, I just had to stay relatively true to the original gameplay and theme. I didn't want to mess with it too much. But I really love some of the other mods like Trident and Meteor, where they've really added a whole nother dimension of extra modes and stuff. And I'm very anxious to do that on some games too. I'm going to probably end up doing Hot Doggin'. I'm definitely going to do Spectrum. I've got a whole bunch of those Bally 35s, so that's my favorite architecture. I love the artwork. This Paul Ferris artwork on here is just so good. And he's a really nice guy. I ran into him once at one of the pinball shows and got him to autograph a back glass that I had. So anyway, let's go. Should I turn the background music back on or what?
G.
So now I see the ball save is in it. Oh, I had the ball save set for 5 seconds because I'm just testing stuff. So and let's see. Maybe I should show you guys. The diagnostic mode is pretty cool. It's all of the code for the diagnostic modes in this game have been rewritten too, and they're actually a little bit more advanced. There's more features. I don't know if I can remember them all, but let's see. So you press the button once, and it does what you'd expect. All the lights, all the playfield lights blink, and you see it just says 99. Let me move this over here so we can see. Okay. And I'm going to show diagnostic mode on this. Okay. So one more time, there's our display test. And if you hit the start button, you see there's different variations. Like you can do each segment of each display. So every self-test has some different features, right? This is the solenoid test. It goes through each solenoid and says it. But you can also press the start button and it'll just stay on one solenoid testing it. It's kind of neat. All right. I don't know what is setting 4. Oh, this is the switch test here. Okay. So you can see it's completely blank, so because none of the normally closed things are down. So if we hold down on the in lane, that's switch 22. This is switch 21. Switch 28. What happens if we put one in the saucer? That's switch 23. Now, if we hold down the in lane, it gives you a list of all the different switches in the order. So 23 is down because the ball is in there. So if I press the in lane, that's switch 22, and it shows you that. And if I hold down the out lane, 21, 22, 23, it kind of shows you the sequence of the things. So it's kind of nice. So in every area of the normal Bally switch test, there's a few extra features that give it a little bit more functionality, which is pretty cool. And I'm trying to remember, what is number 5? Okay, so now these are the settings: 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's your high score right there. I have to look and I can't remember what they are, but these all match up to the original game settings. But when you get up further along, there's some additional settings, like a music volume, tournament mode, whether or not you want the ball save time. You can set the ball save time and some things like that. And yeah, I can actually use the displays. Like if I'm playing a one-player game, I could have one of the other displays show what the current jackpot value is of the beast, or if I've got a timed mode or a hurry up, I could show that. There's a lot of cool possible features that could be added. You're limited, obviously, if you don't want to mod the hardware, but I love the challenge of trying to squeeze maximum amount of fun and flexibility with just the traditional hardware. Yeah, everybody has a different approach to it. So these are different settings, and I forget what they are. I have to look at the code, but you can actually build your own configurable game settings in here too. So if you want, how many tilt warnings should there be before it tilts out, that kind of stuff. And then we're back to the original game. So a few more coins in, and you see the ball is not kicked out of the thing. So let me start a game and see if it'll kick it out. I bet it will, but it might give me credit for that, which it shouldn't.
Are you worthy?
So it did. So it started a game, it kicked the ball out. I didn't get points for the Paragon, but I did get points for this. Again, that's kind of one of those things you got to kind of think about. It's not a big deal, but it's what if somebody tilted out or something like that, you know? Okay, so I've got the music off, and
G.
I'm going to make that time short. I'm going to make it kick it out.
2,000.
So I'll show you what I'm talking about with the different call-outs, right?
4,000. 6,000. 8,000. 10,000.
And you'll notice it says 12, 10, and 2 is lit. It automatically advances as soon as you hit it. It would be nice if it advanced a little bit later, but there would be a little bit more sophisticated code for that. Now I'll get 12,000.
12,000 points!
But it goes to the 14. But you can hear all the call-outs, different voices.
14,000.
You know.
16,000.
And some of them have weird effects on them. Just kind of have fun with all of that. And then the old thing. What other sounds are there? I'm going to change this to be something beast-oriented. There's my sword things and beast. And what's neat is this sound is stereo. So this left pop bumper, it comes out of the left speaker, and this one comes more out of the right speaker. It's pretty neat. There's a little chime thing. And these are all sounds I recorded myself. A little wind, that kind of stuff. So could you use visual pinball to simulate this stuff? I mean, I'm sure you could. I don't know if you could, say, program it in visual pinball and use that to program the Arduino. That would be pretty sophisticated. This is very low level. If you were going to do that, you're better off probably using a P-Rock or some of the higher level stuff, you know, and just replacing all the control systems in here with some of the more modern stuff. Like what Spooky is doing, I believe, is they're building the cabinets and they're using Jerry Stellenberg's P-Rock system, which is a set of boards. It's a modular set of drivers, and you can control it with Python and some other languages. And
N.
All
I
right.
don't know. You could do better.
The call-outs are pretty funny, I still think. So I've got some work to do. There's some problems with tilt. When it tilts out, it doesn't stop the music, and it doesn't check to see if there's balls in the out lanes. And there's a couple of different approaches to how I want to do tilt. Do I want to create a separate game mode called tilt mode? Do I want to pepper code around other routines to just check? There's like 3 or 4 different evolutions of this code, and it's still new. So I think the basic framework is still being hashed out as to the best way of doing it. But I got it working. This is completely 100% different code. Let's go in here and fix that background sound music and put it back in. So I'm going to go down here and tell it we have the background tracks are there now. So this thing will freeze up. It'll upload the code to it. I'm at 93% of my program space, so I don't have a whole lot of space to add much more. And that's the problem. These Arduinos don't have a ton of space. But the potential, like there's a serial port.
Who approaches the Paragon?
There's a serial port on these boards, right? And I could have the serial port connect to a Raspberry Pi and have the Raspberry Pi connected to a monitor. And I could put the monitor in the game, on top of the game, anywhere. And I could have that monitor loaded up with video and audio stuff. It could also display scores and game status. I could even have it talk to the internet and do different things. So this thing could interface with another microcontroller, and you could really add a lot more fancy features to it too. There's a lot of potential.
Approach the Paragon and prove your worth.
And now we got our music back. This is like one of the more mellow, groovy tracks.
2,000.
I could do there. All right, let's go for that skill shot. Oh, so close. I gotta fix that track.
6,000.
That's definitely messed up. I'm gonna stack a beast mode here. That other drop target. There it is.
Beast mode qualified. Consider stand up to hunt the beast.
All right, here we go.
8,000.
I got it. Ah, nice. It's almost kind of luck oriented to get that beast, I think, sometimes.
Gee,
Well, obviously you can trap the ball and try to go for these shots or this shot. That's the easy shot, but it is kind of dangerous.
Beast mode qualified. Consider stand up to hunt the beast.
N.
Would be nice to know what the beast jackpot is.
3x.
Yes! Quintuple bonus.
All right, we got some points happening now. Oh, extra ball.
Extra ball.
Special.
Special. You beast.
Oh, nice. Bonus held. Bonus held.
Shoot again.
Extra ball, and I got bonus held on a 5x, so I've got the high score now. And you see the two, I've killed 2 beasts. I've actually stacked more than one beast mode, but there's been, I had, since I hit the drop targets the second time before starting the mode, it increased the jackpot. So, let's see. This is a fun game. So if you get 20,000 or more bonus, the bonus gets held over to the other balls. So see, I start with 21,000 bonus on the ball too. This is going to be a lucrative ball.
10,000.
So I want to definitely get the balls, the multipliers. So let's get that double bonus. Ah! There we go. Gotta be careful. All right. So let's get that 5x. That's a tough shot. No!
Beast mode qualified. Hit the center stand up to hunt the
I want that 5x is what I want. Oh, beast mode started. So let's get that beast. Ah, almost. 5x.
quintuple bonus. 12,000 points.
Oh! All right. I'm gonna try to nail the G. All right, there we go. Oh, got it. Ah.
14,000.
Shit, how did that go up to 7? It jumped to 7. I don't know why I should have done that. It was 2. See the ones digit. I wonder if it registered more than 1 there. You know, like when you kill the beast, I might need to debounce that. So it actually gave me multiple credits for that. And so I have an extra ball. I'm playing my extra ball right now, but I got extra ball lit. So here's another question. should you be able to get an extra ball on an extra ball? You know, maybe not, huh? If you get an extra ball, you can't get another extra ball from the same. I don't know.
Ooh, that right outline's a killer.
Look at this bonus here.
Bonus hell.
This is a huge score. So another neat thing about this is obviously these displays are 6 digits, right? But you can have 7-digit or larger scores. It stores it and it will scroll. So, you know, that's another really, really cool feature of it. So I'm gonna sit here with a little notepad and start taking notes of like, okay, I should disable.
You live another day.
Ball save caught that. Thanks, guys, for watching, and be sure to check back later. Appreciate it. I'm probably not going to be on that much longer, but boy, this is such a good game. I might as well continue. Huh? Let's see what we get.
16,000.
Special. Hey, it didn't give me the special. Did you notice that? Special is lit. Oh, it's all targets down are special. This is not lit here. I wonder, now this is supposed to advance too. Let's see if I can collect that special. Who doesn't like this music, man? This music is rocking. It's like Edgar Winter.
Ooh, you know how to play pinball.
All right, so I got the high score. I am concerned how it jumped from 2 to 7, so I think I have to debounce the target. So you can't cash in a hunt within a certain amount of time of a hunt already being cashed in. So I think that's what I need to do. I'm gonna grab a pen and make a little note of that real quick. And I wonder if when they were doing these machines, this is stuff that they had to do. You know, a lot of people were playing. Debounce hunt. Yeah, okay. So I basically have to debounce and I think it's mainly this target is the one, because this thing can be hit with such force that it can open and close and register more than one switch hit, and I need to debounce that a little bit better, so that I think what happened when I hit it is it registered 2 or 3 times, and that's that loop, right? The code is looping around so many times. I loop round through it, and it triggers that I caught the hunt, and then it catches it a second time or something. So there's something in there I gotta check to make sure that it doesn't give too much credit. And so there you have it. Fun game to play. I need to do a little bit more tweaking on the music and the sound effects, but you get an idea. It's obviously a pretty significant improvement over the base game, although is still basically the same base game. I didn't want to mess with it too much because I think in this case it's just a really good game. I'll get more wacky with rewrites of other ones. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube, YouTube/Pinball Help. And there's another channel I have called Pinchurch, Pinchurch. Check that out. Subscribe to that. That's where we actually bring bands in, and we have concerts, and we live stream shows. And if you like this music, you can see the entire concert where it was performed and see the artists do it. That's on the channel right now, YouTube/Pinchurch, Pinchurch. You can also find out more about that project at pinchurch.com. Basically, it's an old church building that a group of us got and converted and turned into a private workshop and studio and makerspace. And it's a big collection of over 60 or 70 pinball machines and a recording studio and a makerspace. And so we've got all these resources, and we've all banded together. And it's a neat organization. It's called the Mystic Crew of the Silver Ball. And if you want to find out more about that, you can go to pinchurch.com, and you could find us on Twitter and Instagram and all that. And I guess that's that. If there's no more questions, I'm going to run. And as always, I just want to thank everybody for their support. And until next time, thanks for watching.